So it's no surprise that happiness comes from love. And kind of like, you know how RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you supposed to love anybody else? Which is really solid advice. But also, what can we do? What are the active steps that we can take where we can be more loving of ourselves so that we then can eventually feel happier? And especially in our community as gay people, where overall we have a higher rate of anxiety and a lower rate of happiness a lot of times, it's important for us to check in on what specifically can be our hurdles, and with a mindfulness of that, how can we then practice different ways of treating ourselves better? The first thing is gratitude. When we've grown up in a world that has constantly told us that when you're gay, you're inadequate, there's something wrong with you, we internalize that message and then we also project it out onto our lives around us. So we can look around and think, I don't make enough money, I don't have a good enough home, I don't have enough friends, and that becomes our lived experience. And so what we can do is practice gratitude. And that doesn't mean every once in a while looking around thinking, oh yeah, I've got a pretty good life. No, it means actually sitting down and writing down at least 3 things that you're grateful for. That becomes the new practice so we can actually rewire our brain. We practice this new way of thinking where we're focusing on all that we do already have. And when we do that, then that becomes the thing that we internalize. I started doing this like 5 years ago. It is a game changer. And it begins to then positively influence how we see our lives and also how we feel about ourselves. So we also have to open up, which means being vulnerable, which can be really challenging for us because we've had a whole lot of experience in our lives practicing how to wear a mask and shielding ourselves from hate from other people. But even after we come out, we can kind of still cling to this inclination to want to hide certain parts of who we are that we think are not good enough. That's not okay. Fuck that, because that's practicing conditional love. No. We have to be more loving and accepting of who we are, which means we have to share all of who we are, not just the great stuff, but with people that we love and that we trust, we can open up about the things that we're struggling with, the things that are difficult for us. Because when we do that, then we're practicing the greater self-love, unconditional love, and that's what makes us feel stronger. We also have to play. Now follow me on this one. This one's a little bit heady. So when we grow up in a homophobic world, which I know I start almost every single one of these with, but when we grow up learning that who we are authentically is not okay, then we don't pay attention to the things that we actually and authentically care about, the things that can be our passions, because we just don't hold a lot of value in that. And so that's why we can do so many things like try to look really pretty and have fancy jobs and, you know, make a lot of money, those kinds of things that don't really matter. But when we can go back and start to pay attention to the things that actually make us light up, then those are the things that we can do. So for me, it's things like cooking and dancing and making these videos and practicing therapy. When I do those things, I'm reinvesting into myself. It can be scary sometimes, but it's the way that I can remind myself that the things I care about really matter and are worthy of my time. And that makes me feel stronger in who I am. If you don't know what those things are, if you're not sure what your passions are, that's totally okay. Your job is to then just go out and play even more, take up some hobbies, throw some shit against the wall, see what sticks. And when some of those things do, then you can follow that. But even just the playing is something that can inherently build a more positive sense of who you are and make you feel better about yourself. So what we also need to do is be kind. When we have lived in a society that has automatically been critical of our own community of gays, then yeah, it's really easy for us to learn that and also kind of spew that kind of hatred out to others, to other gay people. And what we need to do is be really aware of that so we can make a conscious change. Because as it turns out, our brains don't actually see a big distinction between others and ourselves. Our brains don't process things like that. So it is in direct proportion how we treat others to how we treat ourselves. So if I'm able to extend love, patience, acceptance, kindness to others, then that's automatically how I'm going to treat myself too. And then of course, that's going to make me feel better. The last thing that we need to do is let it go. We have to surrender the need to control for happiness, because feelings don't work like that. We can't always do every single thing that we need to do and then guarantee a certain feeling. We have to know that there's only so much that we can do. And when we have practiced gratitude and vulnerability and playing and kindness and all of those things, then we can be rest assured that we have done everything that we can do. And if we're still not happy, if we're still feeling kind of sad or down or uncomfortable in any way, that has to be okay. And when we practice acceptance of what we're feeling in a moment, that's what keeps sadness from turning into depression and stress from turning into anxiety. And then we can ride whatever uncomfortable wave of emotion we're feeling until we land back on shore. And ironically, that then helps us get to a place of happiness. We move through those uncomfortable emotions and feel happier again, and we can feel it even more throughout our lives. But overall, we're practicing acceptance, and then we can find greater peace in who we are. And it kind of reminds me of one of my favorite quotes that goes, "We can't control the winds, but we can adjust the sails." So hopefully we'll all be able to adjust our sails a little bit more, and then we can all find greater happiness. Feelings don't work like that. And so, holy shit, I'm like, when did that open up? Get out my titties. Okay.